Hey everyone, welcome back to Aunti Grace Tales. Today's relationship revenge story is for anyone who's ever been judged by their clothes, their background, or their status. They humiliated her for being poor, until one night her secret life walked into the room in paper, in signatures, and in power. Watch till the end. Because the twist doesn't just expose them, it changes her marriage forever. My name is Maya Reyes, and for most of my life, I learned how to disappear inside a room full of loud people. Not because I was shy, but because disappearing kept me safe. In Los Angeles, where I grew up, people loved labels. Poor, rich, worthy, not worthy. My mother used to say, "Maya, the world will try to measure you with a ruler you didn't build. Don't hand them the ruler." I didn't fully understand what she meant until I married into the HART. Lesda, to be fair, I didn't marry a last name. I married Ethan. He was charming in that polished California way, the kind of man who opened doors and remembered your coffee order and made you feel like you were the only person in the restaurant. We met when I was finishing my MBA at UC, balancing night classes with a day job at a mid-sized logistics firm. Ethan worked in real estate development, and he talked about projects the way other people talked about art, like he was building something meaningful. The first time I met his family, they didn't ask me what I studied. They asked me what my father did. My father passed away. I said, "Oh," his mother, Vivian Hartley, replied, as if my father had canceled the reservation. "And your mother?" "She's a nurse." I said, Vivian smiled with her lips only. How noble. That was my introduction to their language. Every sentence was a test. Every compliment had a blade tucked inside it. Ethan didn't notice, or maybe he noticed and told himself it would get better. I told myself the same thing. After the wedding, Ethan and I moved into a beautiful, sunlit condo in Westwood glass balconies, a pool that always looked like a brochure, and neighbors who said hello with their eyes instead of their mouths. I kept working. Ethan said he loved that I was ambitious. Vivian said it was cute. Then Ethan's real estate deals started going sideways. At first it was little things. A contractor backed out, a permit got delayed. Then the calls from his business partner became arguments behind closed doors. Ethan started coming home late, tense, and hungry in a way food couldn't fix. I tried to help by making spreadsheets, renegotiating timelines, introducing him to a friend in compliance who could untangle zoning messes. Ethan thanked me and then, after a while, stopped letting me see the numbers. "I've got it," he said, forcing a smile. "You don't have to carry this," but I could feel the weight anyway. 6 months later, Ethan told me we were going to a Hartley family brunch at a private club in Malibu. "Just brunch," he said. "Nothing big." Nothing big is what people call a storm when they think you're too weak to hold an umbrella. The club was a fortress of white umbrellas and white linen and quiet money. Ballets took keys like they took breaths. Women wore sunglasses that probably cost more than my first car. Men laughed in low voices, as if volume might lower their net worth. Vivian greeted Ethan with an air kiss and me with an inspection. Her eyes skimmed my dress, simple, navy, cleaned lines, then landed on my shoes. "Lovely," she said. "Very practical." Ethan squeezed my hand under the table. "Mom," he warned gently. Vivian turned to her sister Celeste and whispered, loudly enough for me to hear, "She's sweet." "Ethan likes projects." Celeste chuckled. "He always did." I kept my face calm. Inside, something small and hot-sparked. Not anger exactly, more like a reminder. They were already writing my story for me. Brunch unfolded like a performance. Vivian asked me whether teaching little kids was still my plan. I reminded her I worked in operations and had a graduate degree. She blinked, unimpressed, and asked me if I knew how to make a decent béarnaise sauce. Ethan's cousin Brooke made a joke about scholarships. Then laughed and said she was kidding, as if being poor was a punchline you could throw and then pretend you didn't. The humiliations were tiny, precise, and constant. Then Vivian stood, tapped her glass, and announced that the family would be investing in Ethan's next development. My stomach tightened. Ethan hadn't told me this. Vivian smiled like a queen granting mercy. "Of course, we only invest in opportunities with stability. Ethan, darling, your father and I are willing to help you, but you'll need to show us you're serious." Ethan nodded, cheeks tight. "I am." Vivian's gaze slid to me. "And you, Maya, will need to understand something. Hartley men don't marry for money, but they also don't allow money problems to embarrass the family. The table went silent. Even the ocean seemed to pause. I felt the eyes on me like pins. Brooke leaned in, her voice syrupy. No offense, Maya, but you're not exactly from our world. It must be so stressful for Ethan to carry both of you. Celeste added, some women don't realize that love isn't enough. Lifestyle matters. Vivian's smile widened. If you truly love my son, you'll support him by not complicating things. I looked at Ethan. He stared at his plate, and in that moment, I understood exactly what was happening. Ethan's deals were failing, and his family was blaming me. Not because it was true, but because it was convenient. If Ethan was struggling, it couldn't be because Hartley men made mistakes. It had to be because he married down. Something inside me settled. A calm, clear decision. I set my napkin down. Vivian, I said softly, I'm not sure what. You think I complicate? She tilted her head. Oh honey, I'm trying to protect you. This lifestyle can be expensive. People talk. I smiled the way I did with difficult parents at school. Meetings, patient, polite, unmovable. People always talk. Brooke snorted. That's easy to say when you don't have anything to lose. There it was. The word, poor, in their heads. I was poor, therefore harmless. I could have corrected them right then. They could have ended the conversation with one sentence and a receipt. But I didn't, because I wanted to see how far they would go when they thought I had no power. Vivian lifted her glass again. I propose a solution. Ethan will take a temporary position with your uncle's firm. Celeste stabilize his income. And she glanced at me. Maya will quit her job and focus on being a proper Hartley wife. No more distractions. No more independent decisions. I heard my pulse in my ears. Ethan finally looked up. Mom, Maya loves her work. Vivian's eyes flashed. So, love doesn't pay country club dues? The table laughed, not loudly, quietly, like the sound of doors closing. I felt Ethan's hand reach for mine, hesitant, like he wanted to support me but didn't know how without losing something else. I pulled my hand away. I'm going to step outside, I said. Vivian's smile returned. Of course, take a moment. It's a lot to take in when you're not used to it. I've walked past the white umbrellas, past the ocean view that looked like a screensaver, and I stood near the railing where the wind could hit my face like truth. My phone vibrated. A message from my assistant, Jonah. Board meeting moved to 4. Are you joining remotely? I stared at the screen, then at the club behind me, and I laughed once quietly. Dangerously, not because my assistant was not from a teaching job. Jonah worked for my company. The company no one at that table knew I owned. I had built it before I ever met Ethan. I had kept it quiet because I learned early that some men loved successful women until success made them feel small. So I created a boundary between my marriage and my business. I let people underestimate me. It was peaceful that way, but peace had a cost. I typed back, yes, and prepared the documents. We may need to close a deal sooner than planned. I went back inside. Vivian watched me return like she was watching a chess piece move. Feeling better. Much, I said. She leaned in. Good. We'll discuss the details with Ethan and Maya. Just remember, gratitude looks good on you. Ethan's eyes flicked to mine. Apologetic, he whispered. I didn't know she'd say all that. I know, I replied, but I wasn't talking about his mother. I was talking about him. The brunch ended with kisses and laughter and soft insults disguised as concern. In the car, Ethan drove in silence until the freeway swallowed Malibu behind us. Finally, he said, they're worried about us. No, I said, looking out the window. They're worried about control. Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. What do you want me to do? I turned to him. I want you to tell me the truth. How bad is it? His shoulders dropped. I'm in trouble, he admitted. The last project collapsed. I owe my partner. I might lose everything. And you didn't tell me. I didn't want you to worry. I held his gaze. Oh, you didn't want me to see you as weak. His jaw clenched. He didn't answer. That night, after Ethan fell asleep, I sat at our kitchen counter with my laptop open and my heart steady. I pulled up the Hartley Development LLC filings, the liens, the lawsuits. The numbers were worse than he admitted, and Vivian knew. Which meant this brunch wasn't just humiliation. It was leverage. She was positioning herself to save Ethan and make sure I paid the price. I opened my secure folder and stared at a file labeled Private Holdings Disclosure. Inside were contracts, deeds, and one document I had never shown anyone, not even Ethan. The operating agreement that made me the majority owner of Reyes Ridge Capital, the investment firm that quietly financed logistics acquisitions all over the West Coast. My secret life wasn't glamorous. It was spreadsheets and negotiations and late nights and smart risks. It was the life that kept my mother's medical bills paid and my own future secure. And tomorrow, I decided, it would also be the life that protected me from the Hartleys. Closed my laptop, looked at the sleeping man I loved, and whispered into the dark, "You can be my husband, or you can be their son, but you can't be both at my expense." Then I picked up my broken pride and turned it into a plan. The next morning, I called my mother before work. She listened while I described the brunch, the comments. The way Ethan's silence felt like abandonment dressed up as peace. "Maya," she said, "people who mock you for being poor are terrified you'll prove them wrong." "I don't want revenge," I told her. "Revenge isn't always anger," she replied. "Sometimes it's boundaries." By noon, I had a clear picture of the trap. Vivian would offer Ethan a bailout. In return, she'd demand control of his assets, his decisions, and eventually his marriage. If Ethan accepted, I would become the inconvenient wife who needed to be handled. So I arranged a dinner at a restaurant Vivian loved, the kind with imported water and menus that didn't list prices. I texted Ethan, "Invite your mom and Layla, I want to talk." He replied, "Okay." I booked a private room under a different name, and I asked Jonah to bring a slim portfolio and wait nearby. Then I sent one more message to my attorney, "Be on standby. Tonight might get loud." When evening came, I dressed in black, simple and sharp, and I looked at myself in the mirror. For years I had softened my edges to make other people comfortable. To not, comfort was not my job. To not, they would meet the version of me they never bothered to imagine. And if they pushed, I would push back, legally, calmly, completely. Vivian arrived 10 minutes late, as if time existed to prove she mattered. She swept into the private room in a cream blazer, kissed Ethan's cheek, and offered me a smile that never reached her eyes. "Maya," she said. "How thoughtful." Layla followed, phone already in hand, filming a quick clip of the table, settings like she was documenting evidence of luxury. I waited until everyone sat. The waiter poured water that tasted like melted snow and placed bread on the table like it was jewelry. Vivian glanced around approvingly. "At least you chose somewhere appropriate," she said. Ethan cleared his throat. "Maya wanted to talk, guess," I said. "I did." Vivian leaned back. "Well, let's hear it." I folded my hands. "I understand you're concerned about Ethan's finances." Vivian's eyes sharpened. "Concerned? I'm protecting my son, I'm sure," I said evenly. "But your protection has conditions." Layla laughed. "Everything has conditions. That's how adulthood works." "True," I replied. "So let's be adults. What exactly are you offering Ethan?" Vivian's mouth curved. "A lifeline. My brother is willing to employ him. We'll settle the immediate debts, restructure the rest, and keep the family name intact. And in exchange," I asked. Vivian didn't hesitate. "Transparency? Discipline? Cooperation? Ethan will stop making reckless decisions, and he will stop being distracted." Her gaze landed on me like a verdict. Ethan shifted in his chair. "Mom," I raised my hand gently. "No, let her finish." Vivi's voice became sweet. "Maya, you're a nice girl, but you don't understand the level we operate at. Ethan needs stability. A wife who knows her place can be a blessing." Layla smirked. "Or at least, a wife who doesn't embarrass him." I held my smile. "When you say know her place, what do you mean?" Vivian lifted her glass. "I mean you stop chasing your little career and focus on supporting Ethan. He needs a home, not a roommate." Ethan's face flushed. "Maya is in." I turned to him. "Ethan, let me handle this." He went quiet, grateful and ashamed at the same time. I looked back at Vivian. "Let me be clear. I will never quit my work because someone insults it." Vivian's expression hardened. "Then you're choosing pride over marriage?" "No," I said. "I'm choosing dignity over control." Layla rolled her eyes. "Dignity doesn't pay bills." I nodded. "You're right. Money pays bills." Vivian's smile returned, triumphant. "Exactly. So let's talk about money. Ethan is in trouble. My family can fix it. but you must stop pretending you're equal partners when you're not. Silence held the room for a beat. Then I leaned forward. Vivian, you think I'm poor? Her smile flickered. I think you're inexperienced. I tilted my head. Oh, you think I'm poor? That's why you talk to me the way you do. That's why you break people into categories. The ones who matter, and the ones who should be grateful to be tolerated. Layla's mouth tightened. Here we go, I continued calmly. Tonight, I'm going to correct your assumptions. Vivian scoffed. Ooh, you won the lottery. No, I said. I built something. Ethan looked at me, confused. Maya, I reached into my purse and pulled out a slim folder. I didn't open it yet. I let it sit on the table like a quiet warning. Vivian's eyes narrowed. What is that? Information, I said. The kind you usually use to control people. The waiter returned to take orders. Vivian waved him away, annoyed. Not now. When we were alone again, I said, Ethan's debts are real. I know because I reviewed the filings. Ethan stiffened. You looked into my company. I looked into the risk to my life, I said gently. We share a home. If you drown, I drown. Vivian snapped. A wife's job is to trust. A wife's job is to survive, I replied. Vivian's eyes went cold. So what are you proposing? You want us to hand you money? You want to be rescued? I shook my head. No, I want you to stop humiliating me. And I want Ethan to stop hiding. From me, Ethan swallowed. I'm sorry, Vivian ignored him. Apologies don't change reality. I finally opened the folder. Inside was a single page, clean and simple, a letter of intent on Reyes Ridge capital letterhead, offering to acquire the majority stake of Hartley Development's remaining assets, settle outstanding obligations, and restructure the company under new leadership. Vivian stared. What is this? My offer, I said. Layla blinked. Reyes Ridge. Isn't that? Yes, I said. But that's my firm. Vivian's laugh was sharp and unbelieving. Don't be ridiculous. I slid another page across. The operating agreement listing me as managing partner and majority owner. Then a third page, a bank statement summary, redacted except for balances that made the room feel suddenly smaller. Vivian's fingers trembled as she read. This can't be. Ethan's eyes widened. Maya, you own Reyes Ridge. I watched him carefully. Yes. Voice cracked. Why didn't you tell me? I answered honestly. Because I wanted a marriage, not a business merger. I wanted you to love me without feeling like you were competing with me. Vivian's cheeks flushed. So you lied? I didn't lie. I corrected. I kept a boundary. The way you keep private accounts and private attorneys and private clubs, Layla stammered. But you acted like I didn't need your approval. I finished. Because I don't. Vivian slapped the papers. This is manipulation. You set a trap. I smiled softly. No, you set the trap. You just assumed I'd fall into it. Ethan looked between us, stunned. So you can fix this? I can, I said. But listen carefully. I'm not doing it to impress your mother. Vivian snapped. Then why? I turned to Ethan. Doing it because I love you, and because I refuse to let your family use your fear to control me. Ethan's eyes filled. I didn't want them to know I was failing. I reached across the table and touched his hand. Failure isn't the problem. Silence is. Vivian's voice rose. Ethan, don't let her play hero. This is still my family. I looked at Vivian. And this is my marriage. Vivian leaned forward, lowering her voice into something venomous. You think money makes you equal? It doesn't. Blood makes you family. You will always be an outsider. Held her gaze without flinching. Then why did you spend 2 years trying to make me smaller? Vivian froze, because that was the truth she didn't want to hear. She was afraid. Afraid a woman like me could exist in her world without begging. Layla tried to rescue her mother's pride. Okay, so you have money, congrats. But Ethan still needs support. If you really cared, you'd sign over control to someone experienced. I nodded as if considering. Good point. Experience matters. I reached for my phone and typed one word. Jonah stepped into the room a moment later, dressed in a simple suit, carrying a portfolio like a surgeon carries instruments. Vivian blinked. Who is that? My coup, I said. Jonah nodded politely. Mrs. Hartley, Miss Hartley. Layla's jaw dropped. Vivian stared, speechless. Jonah placed the portfolio on the table and opened it to a page showing an organizational chart. With my name at the top. then his, then a list of departments. Beneath it was a timeline for the Hartley acquisition, contingency, plans, and legal compliance steps.com/professional, unemotional. Vivian's voice finally returned, then, so you came here to humiliate me. I shook my head. I came here to stop you from humiliating me. Ethan whispered, Mom, you have to stop. Vivian's eyes flashed to him. After everything I've done for you, Ethan swallowed. You did things for me, but you also did things to her. Silence slammed down. I've watched Ethan's face. This was the real moment, not the paperwork. Money could solve debts. It couldn't solve character. Vivian stood abruptly. If you sign this deal, Ethan will belong to you. Is that what you want? A husband you bought? The words were designed to shame me, to turn love into a transaction. I stood too. I don't want to buy anyone, I said. I want a partner who chooses me. Ethan pushed back his chair and stood beside me. Vivian's eyes widened, startled by the simplicity of that movement. Ethan's voice shook, but it was clear. Mom, I love you, but I'm married. You don't get to insult my wife and call it protection. Vivian's lips pressed tight. Layla stared at Ethan like she'd never seen him without his family's leash. I turned to Vivian. Here are the boundaries. 1. You apologize for how you spoke to me. 2. You stop using money as a weapon. 3. You treat my mother with respect. 4. You do not interfere in our marriage again. Vivian's laugh was brittle. And if I refuse, I nodded toward Jonah. Then the deal doesn't happen. Ethan will face the consequences, and you can watch your family name become a public headline. Ethan flinched, but he didn't step away. Vivian looked at her son, then at me, then at the papers. Pride battled survival in her eyes. Finally, she said, You're threatening me. I'm giving you reality, I replied. You're used to only hearing it from people who fear you. Vivian's shoulders rose and fell. She sat back down, slowly, as if her body was remembering gravity. Her voice came out quiet. I shouldn't have spoken that way. It wasn't a perfect apology. It was a crack in a wall. I held her gaze. Say it clearly, he swallowed. I'm sorry, Maya. The room felt lighter, not because she became kind, but because she stopped pretending cruelty was love. Layla muttered. This is insane. I looked at her. What's insane is thinking people have to stay small to be acceptable. Jonah slid a pen forward. If we're proceeding, he said, we can outline terms that protect all parties. Ethan exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. Maya, thank you. I squeezed his hand. Thank me by being honest from now on. After dinner, Vivian left without another word, but she didn't look triumphant anymore. She looked older. Layla followed, still in shock. In the car, Ethan finally spoke. I don't deserve you. I shook my head. This isn't about deserving. It's about choosing. You can choose growth, or you can choose comfort. He stared at the road. I want to choose you. Then start with the hardest part. I said, therapy, boundaries, no more secrets. He nodded. Okay. Weeks later, the deal closed with terms that kept Ethan employed but removed him from reckless control. He learned operations the way I learned survival. Patiently, humbly, daily. Vivian kept her distance. When she visited, she was polite, not warm. But polite is a start, and I learned something too. I had spent years hiding my success to make other people feel safe, but the only people who benefit from your silence are the ones who want you powerless. My secret life didn't expose them because it was flashy. It exposed them because it revealed how quickly respect appears when people fear consequences. Still, I didn't want a life built on fear. I wanted a life built on choice. One night, months later, Ethan brought me tea and said, I'm proud of you. I looked at him. Are you proud of me? I asked. Or are you relieved you married up? He winced. Both, he admitted, then added quickly, but I'm working on the second part. I laughed, and the laugh felt like healing, because revenge isn't always burning bridges. Sometimes revenge is building yourself so strong that the people who try to break you have to change their hands just to shake yours, and sometimes the greatest exposure is simply refusing to accept the story they wrote for you. So if they call you poor, let your results answer loudly. Asterisk if this story gave you chills. Like this video and subscribe to Aunti Grace Tales because tomorrow's USA-based episode is even crazier. They tried to kick me out until I opened the safe. Comment power in silence if you watch till the end. Dan, tell me, should Maya have told Ethan about her success earlier, or was hiding at the right boundary?